All right, it's now time to talk some European football right here on the SportsMax zone. Match week 6 in the UEFA Europa League took place today. Among the key matches, Manchester United looking to bounce back from back-to-back league defeats as they travel to the Czech Republic to take on Viktoria Plzen. Well, the Red Devils left it late, but they got the job done, beating the home team 2-1. Football analyst Brent Sancho, he joins us to review the encounter. Good afternoon, Brent. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Mariah. Hi, Lance. How is everyone doing?
Is that right because of Manchester United and their win?
Not Brent, I can tell you that.
How are you going to park?
That's answered for you. But let's talk about them today, Brent, because, of course, a well-deserved win for Manchester United. 2 goals from Rasmus Højlund, picking up those 2 goals. We have to remember he's still very young, but, you know, carrying Manchester United today, getting the much-needed win for them.
Yeah, it was a good result at the end of the day for Manchester United. They did not have a 90 minutes or 90 minutes of good football. I think particularly in the second half and when the changes were made. We saw them come into life. The game got a bit more stretch, and Manchester United in transition, the likes of Amad Diallo and of course Bruno Fernandes and Rasmus Højlund were good when those moments came about in the football match. And at the end of the day, they could have probably made it a bit more, but I think a lot of it was down to the substitutions and the second half performance more than anything else. And it's a good result. It's a good 3 points for Manchester United. And I think they'll be quite happy to leave the Czech Republic with those valuable points.
Yeah, what do you think about Bruno Fernandes' performance today? He picked up an assist, but I felt he had a fairly good performance.
It was good. It's what you want from your captain. He was very much involved. He battled in the middle of the park. I think it was a tight game in the first half where possession was not at its best. And really and truly, Manchester United were horrible in the first half when it comes to possessing the football. They gave away the ball a lot, but I think Bruno did stand out amongst the poor first half performances by many of his teammates. In the second half, he came a bit more to life, as I said, because the game was stretched. He had a little bit more forward impetus in what he was doing, a little bit more freedom in the middle of the park, in particularly with Højlund stretching the line a bit deep further forward for Manchester United, which allowed Bruno Fernandes to flourish a bit better. So, yeah, it was a good performance by the captain, solid, exactly what you need. He led from the front, and I think when you look at some of the performances, numbers coming out of it, he would be one of those that would get high credit for what he did today.
Yeah, and one of the criticism and I would say comments that Ruben Amorim has received so far for his time on the job is that, you know, he makes a lot of different changes when it comes to this Manchester United 11. Not very sure what Manchester United you are going to see on a particular match day. What are your thoughts on that comment, Brent? And does it work positively or in a negative manner for the team?
I don't think he has a choice. The players that he have are certainly not up to the task of what he wants to do. He clearly has, unlike Erik ten Hag, he has a clear plan for what he wants from Manchester United. However, the players are not only just mediocre in their performances, in some cases they look like they just don't care. And I think for him, he has to keep making the chops and changes to see if he can get a reaction out of the players, if he can get something out of value from some of these players. Because when you look at the individual mistakes, the individual performances, it has not been good, and it has not been good for quite some time. But that's of course the house that he's met. That's the furniture that he's met in the house. So he has to obviously find creative ways to try to win games. And I think his tenure from now to probably the end of the season will be all about that, weathering the storm, making sure that he can get Manchester United to at least something decent while he tries to rebuild.
Yeah, listening to you there, Brent, I suspect that you are suggesting that you are seeing something different, if not a number of things different, under the guidance of Ruben Amorim, but that you think that the real issue is the players that are at Manchester United right now.
Yeah, it's the players, and my apologies, Ricardo. I didn't realize you were on set as well for not telling you hello. But no, I do think it's the players, and Ricardo, it's those players could easily go somewhere else and maybe perform. But so yes, it's the players, but I think and I've said this many times, of course. I think it's the culture of the club. I think that the culture there is horrendous because when you look at some of the body language, when you look how easy it is for a Manchester United player today to make an errant pass, because that is something, possessing the football with top-level teams is something that you take a lot of pride in. There's no pride in their performances individually, none at all. What I like about what the new coach has done so far is that they look a bit more structured. From my eyes, just watching at the game, you could actually tell what they're trying to do. You could see some sort of pattern. But going back to the players, Ricardo, it's very hard for us to move away from the fact that this is supposed to be one of the best clubs in world football. And you look at players just giving away the football willy-nilly, making individual errors, and just costing their team football matches week in, week out, with really no care in the world. Because if they did care, they wouldn't be jetting off to New York and all these places and when they have winter breaks. They just genuinely don't care.
Yeah, and what does Amorim do now? Because if you've identified that the issue is the players, is it that he is going to clean house the January transfer window, and by the time you get to the start of next season, most of these players won't be there and he'll be able to bring in his players, essentially?
I think that's very difficult, especially with all the legal framework that comes with the sport. And I'm very sure if you're Amorim and he was in the room, he probably wish he had a magic wand where he could just get all of them to disappear, but he can't, because that's not how football works. And it's maybe why Dan Ashford lost his job, because he is certainly one of the persons culpable for the fiasco that has happened in his short space of time. Of course, we're talking about some of the signings that they made in the summer. So he's left with his hand tied, and they would have to be very clever. And I think this is where whomever they bring in, Manchester United, in that position, have to be ruthless, have to be clever, and has to be extremely understanding as to exactly what is needed to get this team back into where they want to go. I think Amorim looks like possibly could be the right man for the job. However, if he doesn't have the right tools, like he currently does, he is going to struggle. So they're going to have to be very clever in the transfer market to be able to ship some of these players out very, very quickly.
Well, let me ask you this one then, Brent. Based on what you are seeing so far and everything that you just outlined, better days ahead for Manchester United or much of the same?
I think it really comes down and how the persons in the boardroom, of course, look at making and pushing players on, and how much they allow Amorim to shape and culture the club, and not giving them the type of leeway that they gave to Ten Hag, who absolutely went down the wrong road. So I think the club management is critical for Manchester United. Again, coming back to your point about player sales and bringing players in, I think that would be critical for their success. Right now, what we do know about Manchester United is the players there are certainly not good enough. Can he, however, improve them in a manner that they can at least perform at a particular level for him to get results? That will really be his task as manager. Can the club, on the other hand, do what they need to do necessarily to get those players out the door and get the right players in so they can obviously try to move forward? I think those two particular points hinges on Manchester United's success or failure.
Okay, so much of the same. All right, totally got you, Brent Sancho. Pretty much the same at Tottenham, because a draw for them today, 1-1 at Rangers, and Tottenham 11th position now in the English Premier League. And what's happening here, Brent?
Yeah, I must admit I'm a bit surprised, Ricardo, because I did think for a minute that Tottenham turned the corner and they started to get positive results. And then I watched the Chelsea debacle a couple of days ago, and I thought to myself, what is going on? How did they get back to this point? And it almost seems like, I don't want to compare because it's not the same as the Manchester United situation. I do think that there seem to be some sort of gains moving forward. But they seem to always, when they make 10 to 15 steps forward, they make 5 or so back. And so the progress is not as quickly as you may think when you first look at it from an eye level. When you get deeper inside and you start unraveling the results like they have been, there's something a bit deeper there. And maybe it's the mindset, I'm not sure, but something certainly is not right, because those sorts of results is not indicative of what we've seen from Spurs earlier in the season.
Well, Brent, Mariah, Lance, if there is any good news for Manchester United, it is that they are ahead of Tottenham Hotspur in the UEFA Europa League points table at this stage. Only by a point, but by a couple of positions. At this stage, Manchester United in an automatic qualifying position for the round of 16 in the top 8. Not the case for Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. Listen, if you're a Manchester United fan these days, you have to celebrate every little success that you can, because there are not many.
Yeah, well, Brent, we want to thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll talk again really soon.
Certainly so. Have a good one, guys.
No problem. Well, let's take a look now at the full results. There were other matches apart from Manchester United. Let's see what happened with those. So we had AS Roma beating Sporting Braga 3-0. Union, a 2-1 win over Nice. Hoffenheim with that draw against Stor. PAOK, a 5-0 win over Ferencváros. Olympiacos and Twente, a 0-0 draw. Malmo and Galatasaray getting a 2-2 draw. And Ludogorets and Alkmaar, a 2-2 draw as well. Real Sociedad defeating Dinamo Kyiv 3-0, a 1-1 draw between Rangers and Tottenham Hotspur, 3-2 win for Lyon versus Eintracht Frankfurt, Lazio getting the win against Ajax, and the Lecter 2-1 win over Slavia Prague. What about Maccabi, that 2-1 win over Rigas? FC Porto 2-0 win over Midtjylland, Elfsborg getting the win against Karabag, and Bodo Glimt that 2-1 against Besiktas. All right, remember the Europa League lives on your Home of Champions, and you can catch all the action right here. It's break time.